Welcome to the DevReady podcast. Joining me on the DevReady podcast today, I have Gareth Ryden. It's time for another one of our monthly AI updates. Gareth, thanks for jumping on again.
Morning, Anthony. Thanks for having me again.
It's a pleasure. It's been a whirlwind of activity over the past month. I think I've gone a little bit more detailed in those weekly videos that I've been doing. I've been sort of repeating how many pieces of content I've consumed and how long it's taken. Last week was 27 videos in 10 hours and podcasts. So it's probably 35 hours over the past month I've done, just trying to keep up with the news. I'm doing a lot more, just keeping up rather than playing, and I know you're on the playing side. What have you found?
Well, a couple of things I've found in terms of tools been playing with over the last month. One of them isn't that new, but I may be a bit slower to the party, is Whispr Flow.
Yep.
Have you played around with Whispr Flow?
No, I had a look when you sent me the email saying have a look at this earlier. Haven't used it yet, but it's a good transcription tool, am I understanding?
So it is. So for me, I'll just preface this: no kickbacks, no nothing. It's been life-changing for me. Okay. So Whispr Flow for me, since I've started using it, I don't really use my keyboard anymore. I'm just not typing.
You're just talking all day long.
I'm just talking all day long. And I know my wife gets a bit annoyed about that when I'm talking all the time, but for me, it's amazing. So Whispr Flow, effectively very good speech to text, but It's very, very clever. It sits across all applications on your computer. And what I'm able to do now, especially I believe now, because we are using lots of apps, we're using multiple AI tools, and for the average person as well, is the only button I'm using on my keyboard is the function button now. You probably see there's a really big fingerprint on it now, and the rest of the buttons are clean. But effectively, I'm Alt-tab, I'm moving between tabs. So I'll jump into ChatGPT, press the function button, talk, very, very accurate, send the message, go straight back into an email, talk, writes the email. And it's massive. Like, it was even what I'm finding now is when I have to, every once in a while, if I'm in a public place on my laptop, going back to typing feels like the 90s now. Yeah. But it has been life-changing. So anyone I meet at the moment, I'm like, please try Whispr Flow. You get a week free of testing it. Okay. And then on the free plan, you get about 2,000 words a week, which isn't that much. You run out of that pretty quickly, but oh boy, it has changed my life.
It takes the context of what you're in, I'm guessing, and that's why it's benefit. Because I've got I use the Windows recorder, which does the speech to text, but that's not smart. It's just straight transcription.
Well, no, this is straight transcription, but I think it's very accurate. So wherever there's a cursor, wherever my cursor shows up in anything on my computer, I just press the function and I talk. Yep. So I do go through and review and just tweak a little bit, but for prompting, it's incredible, especially in the reasoning models now where I'm trying to provide more context because I talk through my context and the prompt's writing. And I even did something the other day, which was super cool, is I was on a Google Meet with a client, and we were chatting and we were trying to work out they're thinking about a solution they wanted to build. And I had Otter in the meeting, but then what we did was I opened ChatGPT over the video call. I pressed the function button and they talked through what they wanted ChatGPT to do. And it was writing the prompt in my ChatGPT for them. So it even picked it up over my microphone. And we were just playing with that, but it is so good. Like it's such a small thing, but for me, it makes me happy because it's so helpful.
Well, that's the benefit of like the magic moment. It's when something just works and it works well.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is for me still those deep research tasks.
100%.
Having the ability to go and research an idea where I would then have to stop my day and take 2 hours out to go and figure out everything and come back in 6 minutes, 20 minutes, 40 minutes sometimes, like whatever it is, and just skim through a report that I roughly knew the area, but this just solidifies. Now all right, here's 6 things to go and actually research properly now. That's the magic still for me, I think. But yeah, I'll give that Whispr Flow a try because my general workflow has been using I think it's Windows H if you're on Windows. And that just brings up a microphone that you can do the same thing anywhere there's a cursor. You can then talk and it'll put it in. But it's not perfect. This is probably much better accuracy.
Yeah, I think that's where Whisper's winning, is its accuracy.
I'm probably interested to see if they've got like an API that we could leverage to bring into some products potentially as well, or what an equivalent service would be that has good transcription capability.
Yes, I think that's a really good point, because from with our clients at the moment, and I think we're seeing this shift now where people are adapting how they're working. So because of if the multimodal features have been around in all the AI tools, but we're finding now more requests are coming from our clients. Or we're prompting them a little bit, is that how do you build a feature in there where you can talk to your assistant as well? Really good for sales, because we do a lot of stuff in the sales space. So working with a large client at the moment, and same thing we're building a tool where they're able to create their proposals faster to get back to clients, but adding in the voice feature where they might be driving the car and they just talk through their requirements, and the assistant's listening and producing. So it's those little things where it's not just the AI is going to give you a really good result, but how you interact with AI can change.
Yeah, I think I've had that moment. So I'm Android Galaxy, watch, it's not on my wrist, it's charging. But they released the Gemini integration now into the Wear OS on the watches. So you just hold the button down and Gemini launches on your watch. And I've changed the power button, which used to be shut down on my phone, to launch Gemini as well. So just quickly bring it up and you can just talk to it and get something going out. So I'm using Gemini everywhere on my phone and my watch to do that similar thing. That's the assistant now, where I used to think Google Now, like that Google Assistant, was really smart. It's terrible compared to Gemini. It doesn't even understand what you're trying to ask it half the time.
Yeah. That's kind of like comparing Siri now. Like I get Siri to start a timer. Well, Siri started. Sorry, don't listen, Siri. I get it to set timers and alarms, but then it just shows how far behind it can't handle anything complex. I've got a similar sort of hack. Is on my on my iPhone, I have advanced voice mode widget on my lock screen of my mobile. So I press that and I can start talking to ChatGPT. That's been really helpful.
I never thought I would use it that way. That's the other thing. It's just once you start using it, you see the utility of it. And the other way I find it useful is in the car. If the kids ask a question, I can give them an answer, but then I can, all right, tell my daughter, open up ChatGPT, because I haven't figured out how to trigger it from the car yet, or Gemini, and it'll give us proper answers and detail, and they can continue asking follow-on questions. That's another good way to do it. And or it tells them jokes, entertains them on the drive.
Yeah, we find one of our go-tos is riddles.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, bedtime routine is we get some riddles out and they work together to solve the riddles, which is quite good, especially when it talking through the riddles versus the text.
Yep.
I find that's a really good one with kids.
Have you had any other tools that you've played with over the past few weeks? I know ChatGPT Agent came out on Friday, so I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it yet. I haven't.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance yet because we're waiting. I think Australia, we always seem to get these things a bit late. I haven't checked.
I got
this
notified
morning.
on Friday. I could check it. I could use it.
There, you must be special. I wasn't special enough, clearly.
I'm on the $200 a month plan. That's probably why.
I think what's interesting, so I'm planning on testing it a fair bit before I just talk through it, but it's going to be I saw some really interesting commentary about it for people who are testing it, and the point now about agency and where do you enjoy doing work and what do you want to provide work for, an agent like
what do you want to hand off?
ChatGPT. Yeah, what do I hand off? Yep. So I think I'm talking a lot more to clients now with these things coming up more and more. What we're finding is helping clients is directing them to spend more time in their own head thinking through tasks and outcomes and success. Because when you're clearer on that, I know we talked about that on one of our podcasts a couple of podcasts ago, but it's becoming so much more important because for you to direct and coach a human, if you direct and coach a human really well, you've got a clear outcome in your mind. You might not have the steps to get there, but I know the best coaches I've ever worked with is they painted a real picture for me about the outcome I wanted to get to, and then they gave me some guidance and they gave me a bit of lateral space to think through the tasks. that approach is going to set people up for success with these tools. So agree the tool's out, but if you wanted to get really a lot of value from it, jump in and play with it, but think through what is an outcome you want to get, and then how do you know if the outcome is going to be successful, and then be able to articulate that outcome, because then you're going to be able to give better instructions, and you won't get this, I call it the lost in the middle, or the flailing around in the middle that I'm seeing a lot of people getting to now, especially with tools like your Lovables and others, but without that clear view of I'm wanting to achieve this, because the tools are getting better at suggesting. So you might get through a couple of iterations and say, do you want me to do this now? But without that clarity about I'm trying to get to this point, it's like, yes, just go and do it. And then it keeps suggesting things. 5 suggestions later, you're thinking, how did I, what am I doing? Where I'm a bit lost. I can't backpedal to where I needed to be.
I think that's the problem. So if you treat it like it's an actual person, like a real assistant that you had, if you didn't give them enough information, you're not going to get the result you expected. It's the same thing. And then on Lovable, Replit, all those sort of tools, people don't know what they're trying to build. Like they may have a general idea and they write one prompt and they start. But then as you go down the path, if you just deviate slightly every time it does something, you're going to be in a completely different place than where you expect it to be. I think that's the problem with not knowing the process of sort of how to design or build, say, your software in that case, but in general, how do you plan a task? How do you give it enough context or enough information to actually get the output that you're expecting, not just an output that it interpreted?
I've got a good tip for people, for like the average person, that when they're using those tools that I'm finding seem to work well for people where they don't get lost, is that before you jump into something like Lovable, if you have ChatGPT or Claude, ask ChatGPT or Claude to act like a really good product manager at gathering requirements. Mm-hmm. And then you say to it, look, I want you to act like a product manager and gather all my requirements for an idea I have. And then say, I'll start with just giving you a broad idea. And then I want you to step me through questions asking me about the specifics of this idea. And that can be a really good way, especially for people who aren't familiar with product requirement documents or whatever it might be, without even being that technical. And then at the end, saying, can you package that up into a product requirements document or a set of instructions that I might use with a no-code tool like Lovable? And then that can be there. That can be a really good guardrail, because then you're using that to guide the interactions. But also it helps, I think, people learn about, okay, this is why we have product managers. This is why they're valuable.
And that's the space we're playing in with DevReady.ai. It's designing and planning a product. So you can put in a 1-sentence prompt for a brief for a product and end up with a 3,000-word brief explaining what you're trying to do, where it could go in the future, what problems you're trying to solve. Then if you really want to get into it, start talking about modules and user stories and planning down that level. We sort of have to bring in, I think, that talking to the agent more, so they can ask them questions, but it's guided and prompted in AI all the way through. So it's another good way to get that context into your products.
And on that point, I want to talk about something else as well that I'm seeing, is that it's kind of changed a bit in the market over the last 4 months, where it was like all dev jobs are going to be obsolete, to actually now, and I'd be curious to get your thoughts, is from where we sit, there's more demand for quality developers than there ever was before. Are you seeing that?
I think I am. So I mentioned that we're running some marketing around helping people take their idea out of Lovable, Replit, V0, whatever it may be, to commercialization. And to do that, there's a lot of stuff that when you've never coded before, you don't know about. So it's how do you polish the app to get it live? So I think there is a demand for good engineers and developers to help you do that, but maybe it's ones that have actually taken something through commercialization as well to understand how to get someone ready and production ready. I think there's still going to be a shift in the number of programmers around. I just don't know what that looks like yet, because there may be everyone becomes a reviewer rather than a programmer or a product manager, and now you can do it, because people with absolutely no idea can build products. You'd be amazed at the things we're seeing that people are bringing to us and saying, I've been working on this for 4 to 5 months. What do you think? We had one on Friday. We had a meeting with someone. It took an hour and 15 minutes just for them to take us through their feature set in the product. That's how many things there were.
Was it a good core idea?
Yeah, it's solid idea, solid features for everything. It all solved problems. It was all good. If you were doing a real MVP, you may have pared back a few things, but he's trying to compete in a market with established players that have feature sets, so he has to have parity with them. So you couldn't really cut too much, because then the only thing you're going to compete on is price, and then you don't want to compete on price.
Yeah, good point. There's only a race to the bottom when you compete on price.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good to hear that, because I do think the law of induced demand is definitely coming up in that space, because everyone can build, and it's exactly that. What I think that's such a good space that you're playing in, because and that's often the question is, people are like, I've got it in here, but I want to get it out there, and they can't even describe it. So it's they've got the really good idea and they've sort of built it, but that last, like, I want people to interact with it in a way where their information is protected and launched and in a secure environment, all that kind of stuff, which is super important once you've validated an idea.
I think it then comes down to as well, like, how do we maintain it? How do we keep it up to date? And then we're starting to try and understand, this is probably one of the newest things in the space, is how do you have your dev team working on it, but still allow the person to work on the product as well as the dev team in the same code base? Because you're going to have processes and procedures in place on how to write code and standards and everything, but then you've got a person who doesn't know what they're doing, just prompting the AI to do things. So it's trying to understand how we work with that, because people still want to be involved. We've had a couple people say, all right, I'm happy to eject it out of that platform and you guys take care and run it. But then other ones like, all right, how do I get involved and how do I still do it? And the approach I'm sort of taking at the moment is, right, you can use it to prototype, but don't try and build it from end to end, a complete feature. Prototype, show us what you want, and then we'll work on the other bit. Because then we can ensure that security is in place, like you mentioned, and that best practices are in place, and it's secure, and it won't break, and it has tests.
Yeah, that's a good. I love that. I think there's good. And what I hear there, which gets me excited, is how many people are going to learn and learn new things, which is really, really exciting.
Which
and
they're all doing.
Yes,
it's amazing. It's just, there's people with a lot of time, and because it's so easy to do, you can get through so much. Yep. It's slightly scary because it will take so long to have done that in December.
Yep.
And I don't know yet where everything's going.
Yeah. And the other thing I was keen to chat to you about is this topic I'm seeing about the different attitudes between when an AI produces an output versus a human, and just the pattern I'm seeing in the, especially clients we speak to, just in the market in general.
Yep. But what are you noticing? Because I haven't had too many people comment on that, or too many situations happen where I'm saying I'm assuming AI is sort of like, it's either disposable or it's not good enough, and the humans is like gold standard maybe.
Yeah, well, it's almost like it's this really bizarre situation. Or actually, no, I won't say bizarre. I'll be probably free from bias and just share what I'm seeing is that. So when you work with a human, or say a new person in your team, and they do work, there's this mindset that, okay, they'll produce something, and then as a coach or a manager or a peer, I'll help take what they've produced, maybe give feedback to make it better. But underlying from that, and everyone's going to be nodding and going, yeah, of course, obvious. Underlying for that is a first draft is a first draft. It's never going to be the perfect answer. So it's my role as a person working with that other human to make something better. For some reason, when we go into the generative AI space, that mindset completely disappears, and it becomes this view of, I've asked the AI to do something and it's produced it and it's wrong. That I'm annoyed. Yeah, there's no like, oh, okay, so these couple of things here are pretty good. This isn't quite right. So what can I do to change it and make it better? So it's a really interesting perspective. And I even had that last night. And hence why I wanted to talk to you about it is I was just working on, I was getting my new training plans because I've got another event coming up, and my AI coach was producing another round of programming for me. And there's some, obviously the Tour de France is on at the moment. So there's all this new tech and new gadgets and new things that I get a bit obsessed with this, but what all these World Tour cycling teams are doing with their teams around training them. So my assistant my AI coach is constantly bringing in new training methodologies that have been researched. And then there was like an announcement from one of the teams about a new approach they were using, and it pulled it into my training program. But then what I noticed, it said, oh, your sessions this week are going to include this descending, intensity session. But then I made sure I checked because I knew about those sessions, and I saw, okay, very specifically in the session itself, the intensity wasn't descending, even though it should be. But in my head, I was like, okay, good. Well, I'll give that feedback. And I said, on Thursday session, I've noticed I'm supposed to have this training program, but the intervals aren't descending. And I gave the feedback and it fixed it. Mm-hmm. But then contrast to that is that I still had that back in my mind, it got the thing wrong. That's annoying. Whereas if I was working with a human coach and they pulled something through, I would have given the feedback and fixed it. So yep. I think that's something, and we're really trying to push with a lot of people and a lot of our clients. And I think anyone, when they're working with AI, is really keep reminding yourself that when you're working with the tool and you're collaborating with it, so factor in that you should read what the outputs are and provide feedback to make it better. And that's okay. It's not wrong. It's not like the AI is mucked up and it's not good enough. It's that you will make it better if you spend the time to review it and tweak it. But I reckon, purely from my experience, is less than 10% of people that we work with have that mindset. 90% of people are like either not reviewing the outputs and just using them, or saying, it got it all wrong, so I'm not going to use it.
Do you put that down to people thinking that the AI, it's not a person, so it's not going to learn things? That's where my brain goes straight away on that. Because when you're talking to a person, you'll tell them correctly and go, all right, next time you do this, look at the title, look at the plan, see if they relate to each other. But when you're talking to the like ChatGPT even, it's not going to remember that instruction. Yeah, it's not that, it doesn't have that level of learning yet with an individual person in that relationship.
I wonder though if it's this, it's produced by a machine, so it should be right. And say an extreme example, when I use a calculator, it's always going to give me the right answer. So maybe I've been pre-trained over years and years and years of working with machines and technology. When I type on my keyboard, if I type ABC, I see ABC coming up on.
Yeah, it just happens.
So it just happens, and it happens right every time. But that's not this technology.
Yep.
So my hunch is that I think it is that, well, whenever I've used technology in the past, when I press a button, press start on the microwave, it starts.
Yep.
My microwave's on the blink at the moment, but I think this is a really important, big shift. And it's not about maybe the latest tools and technology, but rather it's how we work with these tools. And as the tools get better and better, like we talked about before about ChatGPT's agent mode that came out and how powerful that is, well, where we need to succeed as humans is how we interact with the tools, how we change how we work. And I really believe that the people that nail that are the ones that are going to win. So there's the early adopters, the people that have started experimenting. And it's actually, I don't think that they're getting really good at prompting. Like, there are people that are really good at prompting, but I believe that the early adopters are getting really good at working with AI in a way that gets the best.
They've had longer, more experience. They know the little tweaks that you need to do to work with it potentially. And then it's working with it, not it doing things for you.
Yes.
That makes sense. Yeah. It's really, like you said, get something back, refine it. It's not going to be the gold standard every single time. You may get lucky and you will get that 1 in 100, who knows? So I was just thinking if you do get an AI microwave, every time you press a start button to tell you how microwaves work, you go, oh, you're right, 2 minutes, and maybe it'll be 6.
Yeah. Yeah, it completely burns my gyoza in the microwave. But, and even that example you gave before about talking to Gemini on your watch, because you've been in the space longer, you're thinking about that. Whereas so many people are typing a Google-like question into the ChatGPT box. But yeah, I think that's such an important thing. And even the other thing that gets me really excited though is the people that are using it in new and different ways. So over the weekend, I was helping out at our local surf club. We were cleaning out the gear shed. So I was there sweeping sand. I don't know why I was bothering sweeping sand out of the board shed, because I'm like, it's all going to come back in. But anyway, I felt useful.
Yep.
And then we were looking at one of the trailers where they cart all of the race boards to different events. And it was really cool. There was a couple of other members of the surf club, and I came up, and because I'm doing a lot of work with the surf club, sharing about the power of ChatGPT, and I had this proud moment where one of the people at the working bee had his phone out and was talking to ChatGPT and asking for dimensions about this trailer and how they might better fit the boards in.
Yeah.
And it was such a really cool moment, because it's moments like that, it's not just about drafting my email, but how can we fit 20 boards in here instead of 15? What's the average size of a trailer in Queensland? This kind of stuff.
Yeah, so that's where you've taught them, shown them what's possible, and got them to do something. I've done something similar. I was getting some pavers set up in the backyard to put some sheds down. I'm like, all right, I can calculate what I want. All right, ChatGPT, these are the pavers I'm looking at. This is the area. How do I lay them out? How many would I need of this size or this size versus this size with the least amount of cuts, so it's the easiest to lay them? So and then it drew up like a table and just showed me where they would be, or which ones would have cuts. Very crude, but that's how I would have done it on paper as well. Mm-hmm. Like, all right, I'm playing with my kids, and I just do that on the side, so now I don't have to do that.
So are the pavers laid now?
Yeah, they're all out. It's taken months and months to get going, but it was a big project. But it was like, there was a moment where I would have to stop for 20, 30 minutes, tell my kids, all right, well, I'll play later, or I can play now. Just give me 30 seconds to ask it something, and then I'll look at that when I'm free. It's the moments like that.
Yeah, and I like what you did there. You were saying you gave it relative widths. What did you do in that?
Oh, so I told it, this is the area that I've got. So it's 1.5 meters by 6 meters. I can buy pavers that are 600 by 300 from Bunnings, or 400 by 200 and 200 by 200. This is the price of them. How many will I need to do to lay out this area? Which one would have the least amount of cuts to fit it incorrectly? And it's like, all right, if you go this way, you'll get least tiles, but it'll cost more, or this one will be right with, but you'll have to do more cuts. Then it's like, awesome. I'd rather pay a bit more money than have to cut all the pavers with an angle grinder.
Yeah. Yeah, save your ears and your back from angle grinding the weekend.
It's messy. But yeah, there's 100 different ways you can use it. It's just thinking about, all right, it's not, I don't think it's like about offloading your mental capacity, because you still have to think about that problem and do it. But there's certain things where it can do it and I don't need to. I think that's the difference. I'm still thinking about how I will do it. What I'm asking it is exactly what I would go through. And I have a rough idea. I think these ones would fit, but it's just then backing up what I'm thinking. That's how I use it.
Awesome. That's so good. And I think that's where we get the value from. I'm similar, as my brain's never worked this hard in my entire life. Yep. In a good way, like in a really good way. I'm producing a whole lot more stuff, but I'm also thinking so much more. Yep. So much more.
There's so many things. Just from our last chat, the last podcast I've done, I did set up a Trello board, which is just working on, and I've started adding cards and all the different things that I'm working on. And then these are all the chats that I've done that are related to that, because I can't use ChatGPT to search anything. It's the worst interface to organize information. Yeah.
Projects has got a long way to go in ChatGPT, that's for sure.
And I used another use case last night. I was testing some prompting that we were doing and some actual outputs for coding. And I'm like, all right, I've got these 20 things. Half of them I've implemented. The other half I'm not going to implement. Like, they seem too specific, too detailed, not like core to an MVP product. So I roughly knew that breakdown. I'm like, all right, ChatGPT, go write me a script that'll combine all these different files. And then, all right, I did that. Now, here's 2 files that I'll give you, so it's easier for you to process. Mm-hmm. This is what I'm thinking is the difference between them. What's your full assessment? And give me reasoning why. I knew the nuance was there, but I didn't know how to articulate it properly. Mm-hmm. And they gave me a better way to say it. Now I know exactly what why I felt that was wrong.
So next topic I was keen to get your thoughts on. So first question, have you done your tax return?
No, not yet. Mine will be done in a few months.
Are you a super organized...
Oh, no, it's just we've got different structures and things. So I have to wait a bit until business is done, and then we can move on, because I'm the owner of the business as well.
Oh, of course.
I don't wait for 1st of July and start submitting.
Yeah. Got to manage all the various trusts and where everything's held. Yeah.
Yourself?
It's just quite interesting. I started my career as an accountant.
Okay.
Long time ago. Long time ago. Can you imagine me wearing a tie? That's where I started my career.
Okay.
So you would think that I'm pretty organized with stuff, but no, I'm not. But this year, I got a really good pat on the back from my accountant because he's
Okay.
like, gee, you're really organized with your tax this year. And I definitely have ChatGPT and Claude to thank for that. So I've got some good hacks, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, spit
For
them out
other-
because I just thought of one as we're talking that'll be useful for me, Joel. I'll
Yeah.
add in at the end if you don't cover it.
So the thing, what I found, so first of all, I haven't got in the habit of keeping all my tax stuff in a spreadsheet. Every beginning of every financial year, I'm like, I'm going to start my spreadsheet. And every time I incur expense, I'm going to do it. So I didn't do it again this year. But so the first thing I did with Gemini was open up a Google Sheet and then open up Gemini inside that. I didn't do anything in the sheet, but I gave Gemini a bit of context about I need to submit my tax return to my accountant. This is my context. So this is the business I'm in, and these are the types of things I do. Can you create a tracking spreadsheet for me to put in all of my receipts? But I want you to suggest areas that you think I'm likely to have deductions for.
Okay.
And because it was inside Sheets, it created the table for me, which was awesome. It was a blank table, but it had some suggestions along it, like work-related expense, travel, charitable donations, education, and then receipt here, and all these specific columns to fill out. Date, is it a one-off? That, as a first step, was awesome because it reminded me about all these other things that I'd incurred throughout the year. I'm like, oh, yeah, I didn't realize. Perfect. Then what I was able to do is, because Claude is connected to my Gmail and my calendar, first thing I asked Claude to do was, over the last financial year, search for anything of my work-related trips. Anything where the meeting location wasn't over Google Meet, was in a different to my home location. And then ask me some questions around how I got there, if I flew or drove. And it was really good. It pulled out a few work trips I'd forgotten about. So this is how disorganized I am. And then I asked it to again look in my Gmail for the receipts for those specific work-related trips, because if I was flying, the itineraries would come into my inbox.
Yep.
It was so good. It literally found all of the dates and all the trips. It gave suggestions about, I think this is a work-related trip. And then I can see in your inbox that you have a Virgin Australia itinerary. Is this a receipt for this trip? So good. And I took all of those outputs and then I gave it to Gemini to populate the table it had created.
Oh, well.
So super helpful. It probably took me about 2 hours, and it's a good investment of time, but how comprehensive it was. And then I sent that off to my accountant. He's like, wow, you're really organized this year. Like everything's in here, categorized. But that was super, super helpful for me because I gave it the context, both the two assistants sort of working together, Claude and Gemini. So
Yeah, and using
massive time
each
saver.
one where they have their strengths.
Yeah, definitely. So if you've got those connectors happening, if you do have it connected to your Gmail or Outlook, that's a really good task to give it if you want to find out stuff.
I'm gonna have to do that connected to Outlook to figure out my work trips. That's the one I had in my head as soon as you said it, because that's the biggest pain, is going through the calendar, finding out where the meetings were, and then how long did I travel, how many kilometers did I travel from home to there, and then from there home, or from there to the next meeting. So yeah, I'm gonna have to do that for sure. That's the
Huge
one that
time saver.
it does my head in every year.
The thing that blew me away was how good it was at because back to what you're saying before, these are things that I would normally do that would take time that I don't really want to have to do.
Yep.
And what was really impressive was it found a trip that it had worked out that I was driving for.
Yep.
And then it found, as well as the flights and correlating that to Virgin invoices, but then it found, because I take pictures of like the fuel receipts and I just email it to myself because I'm like, oh yeah, I'll find it at the end of the year. Yep. It was able to find those emails around the same date and say, hey, here's an email with a fuel receipt. I'm pretty sure it's going to relate to this trip.
Yep.
Make sure you check that. And that would be something normally I would go through.
Oh, it's a pain to
So
do that,
good.
to go through,
Yeah.
and then you would have spent more than 2 hours if you're doing it by hand, 100%.
Oh,
Or if
absolutely.
you only did it in 2 hours, you would have missed a lot of things.
Yep.
It's just,
Definitely.
yeah, it's the speed and the depth at which they can go to, which is always surprising.
Yep. So big time saving. I think time saving, but also I feel more confident that it'll find all of the deductions, because even last year after I submitted our tax return, my wife was like, "Hey, these bills here for like LinkedIn Premium," because it was I paid for LinkedIn Premium through my Apple account.
Yep.
All the invoices sitting inside my Apple
Yeah,
account,
your
not in
iCloud
Gmail, and I
Yeah.
missed it. And I was like, oh, a whole 12 months of deductions there that I've missed. So this time I didn't, because it was
You link it
checking.
together. It's
Yeah.
just, it's more thorough.
Yep.
You could be that thorough, but you don't have the time to spend on it. That's the other thing.
Yep.
So why?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
your time's valuable, so it's best to use your time in the right places and use the AI to help you on the lower value tasks. That's what the
Yep.
approach that we've always taken.
Yeah, definitely. And I also found, to your point around comprehensive, because I gave Gemini the context, it had suggested categories for me. And then those suggestions helped prompt things when I was asking Claude to look through my diary and my email. So often, I'd often donate to people like for fun runs, the Vinny sleep out, but I sort of do it on a whim. Like someone pings me, I'm doing Movember this year. I'm like, okay, I'll just give the money, and I just
Yeah, and
forget.
you forget to do the tax deduction.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good use case for it. It'd be interesting to see how accountants sort of pick that up and maybe advise people to do that to try and get the most out of their return. If someone's that forward enough thinking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think accounting firms in particular, massive opportunity for really hardworking business owners in accounting and financial planning businesses. Not the let's use AI to do the stuff that we really enjoy with the client meetings, but significant amount of automation opportunity in your average accounting business where you've been,
Yep.
you may have used some sort of sophisticated spreadsheets or you're saving information, but your ability to, there's an accounting business we're working with at the moment. And when we spoke to them, this is for other businesses if they're thinking about automations, is step back before you think, I want AI to do all these things.
Yep.
And describe an ideal process for you. And that's what we did for this other firm. And it starts to help you direct what you want to use AI for. Kind of like what we were talking about at the beginning of the conversation, is on a individual level, be clearer on the outcome and the task that you want to do.
Yep.
And then you can direct AI. I believe the same thinking and mindset can apply to process. So
Of course.
what is your due diligence process if you're an investment, small boutique investment bank? Or okay, what are all the steps you go through? Don't get fixated on individual prompts and where AI might play, but what is that process? Then what does that process look like when it's running faster and at quality, and what is the role that AI plays? So you thought of AI comes at the second or third step when you've defined an ideal experience.
Yep. Yeah, it's have that in mind up front and figure out how to get the most out of it, really.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
Well, Gareth, I think that probably wraps up this month's chat. If anyone wants to reach out, as usual, how can they do that?
Find me on LinkedIn or visit our website, fryyay.ai. You can find out a little bit more about what we do.
And we'll drop all of that into the show notes. Once again, thanks for joining me. And it's been a good chat. And it's always good to get your opinion on things because you're playing in a different space of tools than where I am. And it's a lot of synergy there in how we're sort of approaching things.
So thanks, Anthony.
Awesome. Thanks. Bye.